Good morning. We've got a bunch of stories for you this week, but first I want to know, did you miss me? Sorry I wasn't here last week. I had to finish my manuscript, which I finally got to the publisher. Thought it was close to done, but you know how it is with these projects. The last little bit always takes a lot longer than you think, so I simply didn't have time for the stories last week. Please accept my apologies, and let's get right into the 5 stories this week because we got some good ones. The first one, scientists in Norway found that if they painted one of the blades on the 3-blade turbines, they could reduce bird deaths by up to 72%. They did this in a project, the Smola Island in Norway. Essentially, it had 7 years of data without painted blades. Then they painted the blades and got another 3.5 years of data. And they sent around carcass-sniffing dogs on this bird-rich island to go pick up all these dead birds. Counted them up. Looks like we could find some significant progress in reducing avian fatalities if we paint blades. Somehow they see it differently. There are a number of projects around the world that are pretty big that have been put on hold because of bird deaths. So this actually has a pretty significant opportunity for opening up some areas that simply have not been available to wind development so far. Second story this week is this mega project out of Australia. French renewable energy developer Neoen, or Neoen, you pronounce it, has filed an application for a $3 billion wind, solar, and storage project in South Australia with 1,200 megawatts of wind, 600 megawatts of solar, and 900 megawatts and 1,800 megawatt hours of battery storage. It'll be developed in 3 stages, a third, a third, a third. The first third, with 400 megs of wind, 200 megs solar, 300 megawatts, 600 megawatt hours of storage. That can tie into the grid right now without a whole lot of difficulty, but phases 2 and 3 of equal size will require additional transmission development. This thing would ultimately yield, 4 terawatt hours of energy per year. The interesting thing about it as well, for the wind piece, they're only talking 163 turbines. So that suggests that each turbine would be roughly 7.3 megawatts. To put that in perspective, the largest terrestrial turbines today are around 5.4 megawatts from Vestas and from GE. Those are in that range. So these are a step function higher than those. Now let's jump over to batteries. Korean manufacturer SK Innovation reports they're going to cut the cobalt in their battery content down to 5% by 2023. And ultimately by 2030, they want to reduce the cobalt down to 0.5%. Cobalt's getting pushed to the side of the stage by a number of manufacturers because it's expensive, it's volatile in price, it's inelastic in supply, and there's also this child labor issue coming out of the Democratic Republic of Congo. And speaking of batteries, Capital Dynamics, an independent global private asset management entity, signed an agreement with Tenaska to develop 9 battery energy storage systems in California, totaling 2,000 megawatts. The duration was undisclosed. Those will be in the Bay Area, Los Angeles, San Diego, so up and down the whole coast. And for its own part, Avista announced last week that they have just received permitting for 1,500 megawatts and 6,000 megawatt hours in the Moss Landing area, which is south of the Bay Area. They already had a project there. Tesla has a project too. So that project alone dwarfs everything that was built last year in storage in the United States. And then finally, speaking of batteries, one more time, this one about rolling batteries. In North London, 28 electric double-decker buses are being tied together in one of the largest vehicle-to-grid projects in the world to deliver 1 megawatt of energy and capacity into the UK power grid. This is an area that's going to grow rapidly in the years to come. There's simply too much money at stake and too many gigawatt hours of storage rolling around on wheels around the world. Well, thanks for watching. We'll see you next week. Stay healthy.